guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. I have an amazing story today. It's a little dark. I'm gonna go ahead and warn you guys, but it's a good one. Okay, it's a good one. It is a magician that is the leader of a gang that likes to do cannibalism. Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Brandy, by the way, if you're new here. What I do is I make these videos of old dark history stories of witches or vampires or werewolves or whatever, and I bring them back to life. Stories that you have to dig to find. And while I do that, I put makeup on my face. I tell these stories and bring them back to life. And if that sounds awesome to you, definitely hit that subscribe button. I will list what I use on my face below in the description box and all that fun stuff. So anyways, let's go ahead and get this party started. So today we are talking about Peter Niers, Niers, okay? And he was born to a peasant family, so he was born, they did not have a lot of money, unfortunately. He was born in 1540, so this is way back in the day, and he was German. And like I say, he was born into a peasant family, and so this kind of left a sour taste in his mouth. And also during this time of, during his lifetime, there was this huge uprising between the peasants and the rich people, okay? So this is kind of what inspires him to have like a gang of people that just kind of goes around and does whatever they want to, basically. Basically, it's like a gang of people that go around and they rob, they sneak into people's houses, they steal from them, they rape, they pillage, they do all these things, and they're just not good guys. And so, but they were with this peasant uprising, and this uprising was the biggest war at the time before the French Revolution. So this is a lot of peasants taking on the rich, and so this is what he grew up in. Just kind of keep that in mind as we go forward with this story. That's how he grew up, and so he's thinking, I don't want to grow up like this. I don't want to grow up poor, wanting to know where my next meal's going to come from, so I'm going to form a whole gang of bandits, and what we're going to do is just steal and pillage from the rich and all this other fun stuff. Peter was kind of an odd dude, okay? He was very, very strange. He looked strange, like his features and things like that. And he had like a bunch of crooked fingers. He had a long scar on his chin. You can tell this dude has been through it, but those are basically what he looked like. Like he had been through war, he had been in all these peasant uprisings and things of that matter. It was robbing from the rich and giving to the poor, basically. And, he was basically the leader of all of these guys that would go around and pillage and do whatever they wanted to. And it wasn't just about stealing food and money. They say that they would also kill pregnant women and take their fetuses. And this is where the black magic, I hate that word, but this is where that magic comes in, okay? Because this man is such a chameleon that you'll see in just a bit that he changes his appearance all the time. Like all the time. He's like, he can blend into a crowd. He could be a soldier one minute, a beggar the next. You never know with this guy. You may be wondering, where did he learn all this from? Well, he did have a mentor. He did. This guy was on a crime spree for like 22 years, his mentor, okay? And his mentor's name was Martin Steer, and he had led 49 bandits to kill and pillage from the Netherlands all the way to Württemberg. And he actually was executed in 1572. And so we got Peter, who has learned crime from this guy, but they're calling it magic because they're saying that this man taught him how to be invisible. And that's why it was so hard to catch Peter, because this guy said, I have a recipe, for you to do, and it'll make you invisible. That way you can, sneak around and be whoever and you know, do whatever you want, basically. So keeping all that in mind, just know that they end up getting busted. Some of the members get busted, including Niers, okay, in 1577. Yes, this is the first time he's arrested. And of course he is tortured for, this time I think he's only tortured probably like once. And yeah, I know I say this time because it's gonna get bad later on, like really bad. But don't worry, I'll give you guys a heads up. Don't worry. When some of the members got called, and Niers was tortured because a House striker guy confessed to helping Niers kill a 20-year-old woman on April 10th of 1567. And so this is what brought them to go ahead and torture Niers this first time. And they get a confession of 75 people out of Niers. He's saying that he killed 75 people in his first confession, the first time that he's tortured. Somehow, we don't know how, but after his first torture, he finds a way and he gets out. He escapes, okay? And so for a while, he's like on the run. I say he's changing his looks. He's moving from country to country, you know, but he's still doing his criminal thing, you know what I mean? But like I say, he managed to escape. And so over the next few years, people were writing stories and pamphlets and all this stuff about what this guy was doing, you know? It was like they were hearing about what he was doing, but they weren't able to catch him. So these pamphlets, what did they do? They started detailing some of his crimes, okay? And this is what had people were freaking out when they started reading these. So basically, of course, it said that he was dabbling in the black arts of magic, and that he could be invisible because of the sack that he had. And the only reason why he got caught the first time was because he hadn't refilled or redone the spell on the sack that he carries, okay? We're gonna find out what's in the sack in just a minute. But, so let's say this is what they were saying that he was doing. He was doing cannibalism, the black arts. Him and the gang would gather at Fowlsburg and meet with the devil. So they had Sabbats with the devil, basically. Of course they did. They always have Sabbats with the devil. It seems like a running theme in every episode. The devil would bless them for the bad things that they've done, you know, kind of like, oh, thank you so much for murdering all these people today. I appreciate you. Let me shake your hand, you know? I mean, I'm sorry if anybody believes that. But, you know, like I say, this is what people were writing. This is what people were saying that he was doing. And so it gave him a terrible reputation. They also said that the devil paid him a monthly sum, I guess, to like continue his crime sprees or whatnot. And he granted supernatural powers to Niers. Yes, the devil did. So Niers was super special. He got special powers from the devil. And he also had this knapsack that supposedly made him invisible, correct? So, like I said, Martin, his mentor, had taught him how to be invisible. And the sack was filled with this magic material. And it taught him how to be invisible, basically. But what was in the bag? You're probably saying, just say it, B. What's in the bag? The magic material in the bag were fetus remains, and they would eat a fetus heart by casting a spell over the bag, with the bag having remains in it. And we're going to talk about more about the remains in just a little bit when he gets busted. But this is supposedly the sack that everybody, they were like, he's carrying dead fetuses in here, okay, in his knapsack, and that's what's giving him these magical powers, which we all know is not true. It just sounds utterly psychotic. Along with carrying this sack around, they would use the rest of, supposedly, they would use the rest of the fetus to, like the fat and stuff off the bone, and they would make candles out of this fat from the fetuses. Now, this is like in stories that people were saying, so we don't know if this is actually true. This old candle thing, because it just kind of sounds bonkers to me. But Anyway, so when you burn the candle, this candle that's made out of the, fat of a fetus, a baby, you can go into anybody's house undetected. Like, they won't wake up, they won't bust you, nothing like that. That's exactly what that was for. So if you lit one of those candles, you could go into somebody's house and rob them blind without them ever waking up. Now, we know this is not true, obviously, but this is what people were saying about Peter. Peter was not the greatest guy in the world. And I mean, he was like the leader of a gang. He was a thug, straight up. His whole life, he knew nothing but fighting and, making sure that he had enough to live on and things of that matter. There were also rumors going around that Peter was a shapeshifter. Yeah, that he could change into different things. And it wasn't just animals. He could turn himself into a rock or a log. Yeah. But he could also turn to a cat or a dog or a goat. It could be numerous things, And he was also, like I say, a master of disguise. He would change his appearance and dress. Sometimes he would look like a soldier. Sometimes he would look like a beggar. He would do things to make sure that nobody could find him because he's on the run, He's on the run from the first time he got arrested. And it's not too long that people find out there's 3 facts about this guy. That what he always carries a large sum of cash, okay? Not only that, he also carries 2 pistols, one in each pocket of his pants. So this is something that he is always done, is carry 2 pistols, and he carries a huge 2-handed sword. Yeah, this guy was like, I'm telling you, straight medieval. Like, oh my God. I couldn't even swing that. Anyway. So yeah, that's what he carried. He's always protected, made sure he always had money. He didn't want to be that kid that grew up poor and stayed poor his whole entire life, And so he robbed people and stuff like that because that's what he learned. The peasant uprising. He was a part of it. We get to the final arrest. Yes, we do. And it's actually pretty crazy what they do to this man, and for this man not to even die. Like, now, his final arrest, how does it happen? Well, he stops at an inn for a night, okay? And he decides, I really want to take a bath. Like, I feel like I'm just really dirty and I'm gross and I want to go take a bath. So he leaves his magic bag with the innkeeper and he goes to the bathhouse. Well, he gets in there and he starts washing himself and people start recognizing him because remember, he doesn't have his bag with him to make him invisible or to change his shape or whatnot. You know what I mean? So he's in this bathhouse and all these people around him are starting to notice who he is. They're like, this guy's like been on the run forever. And so 2 of the bathhouse people that were in the bathhouse, they leave and they go to the inn where he's staying. And they go in there and they're like, let us see his bag. We heard about his magical bag. I need to see this bag. And so they open it. And what do they find? They find a bunch of fetus arms and legs and all this kinds of crazy stuff. And so a whole mob of like 8 people from this bathhouse end up taking him down. I feel like this dude is like huge. If he can carry 2 pistols and a 2-handed sword and have 8 people have to take him down until the police got there, like, that's a strong dude. That's a really, I don't know, I was just saying. So the bag contains several hands and hearts from babies, and it took 8 people to apprehend him, and then once he was apprehended, he was like, yeah, I'm guilty. Guilty straight up. This is the part I don't get. If he admitted to robbing people and killing pregnant women, if he said that I'm guilty, most of the time that's enough reason for them not to torture you, right? And I'm thinking that's probably what he thought. But oh no, 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 no. This man could confess all day long and he was still going to be tortured. And they tortured him, yes. And this is going to be bad. They tortured him for 3 days and the man still did not die. Okay, so day 1. This is September of 1581 of the 14th. Okay, Niers' torturing was began and it went on for 3 days, like I say. And the first thing they did was peel pieces of skin off of his body. This is the first day. They peeled pieces of skin off of his body and then poured hot oil into the wounds. So you're basically being flayed. If you don't know what flayed is, you can go watch my torture video. I'll put it up here at the top because we talk about that and the wheel, which is what they end up putting him on as well. But so this first day, they're peeling his skin and they're putting hot oil into the wounds. You gotta imagine that's gotta be incredibly terrible, okay? So the second day, his feet were smeared with oil and they were heated up, almost like they were trying to bake this dude. Like they were trying to bake him or could roast him, cook him, something like that. So on the third and final day, September 16th, 1581, he was dragged to his place of execution and broken on the wheel. Now, I'm also going to say that this is also in a torture video, but being broken on the wheel is basically being put on a wheel and they either like throw it down a hill or they smash it or they do something on it, but your arms and legs are like weaved into the wheel and almost like broken. So they'll fit into the wheel and they'll smash the wheel on the ground or they'll spin it down a mountain or something like that in order to hurt the person or to, most of the time it would kill, you know? I mean, that's pretty tough. And so he was broken on the wheel and they slammed the wheel down 42 times. And this man was still alive. I'm not saying he was up and kicking, but he was still breathing. I will say that. So how did they end it? Because he was still alive after slamming this wheel 42 times. They ended up quartering him. Then after that, he finally passes away from his execution. Now, before all that, he says that he killed 544 people and admitted to killing 12 pregnant women for their babies. But he did all this under torture. Remember that now. He did all this under torture. Even though he raised his hand, was like, I'm guilty, like 100% guilty, they still tortured him to make him say things. So he obviously did crimes. That's obvious. He was not a good dude. He was probably one of the worst back then, during the time. And he's not spoken of very much, you know, and the black magic part kind of got me, you know. But if it's just weird that they decided to go ahead and torture him, even though, you know, normally they torture you when you say you're not guilty so that they can get a confession out of you. But this guy was already like, hey, I'm guilty, you know. But they take 3 days to kill this guy. 3 long, excruciating days of pain. Which, if he did kill 500 people and he really did kill pregnant women, then maybe this was the way to go for him back then. Because like I say, the dude's not a good guy. He's just not a good dude whatsoever. It's a sad thing. It's sad. But that's what he admits to. He admits to all that. So, Peter, the peasant, grows up to be a gang leader and dabbles in dark magic, and he ends up in the worst possible way that you could ever be. And I mean, I can't believe how many different ways they tortured him. They flayed him, put him on the wheel, and then quartered him. Like, that's why I feel like he was a really like big, huge, tough dude. I mean, you can imagine he's been doing war his whole entire life, you know. He grows up in this household where he's being bullied by rich people because he's a peasant, you know. And this was already a huge thing where it was just kind of rising up with these people. And so that the peasants finally decided, yeah, we're going to overtake the rich. And that was basically his whole life. That's all he knew. He just knew that he did not want to be poor growing up like his parents were. He didn't want to be picked on by rich people because he was a peasant. And believe me, nobody picked on this dude, okay? Even though he robbed, he stole, he raped, he killed. Yes, he did all those things. I don't think he killed 544 people. But then again, he did have a gang of people. It's a literal gang. He was like a gang leader, you know, and he would they would even break off into smaller groups and go out and do more debauchery in the town, or sometimes do it as one large group, you know, so he wasn't a good guy. So I just thought this story was really, really hard because it's got a lot of crazy stuff in it, especially like with the baby parts and stuff like that. But that's what they found in the bag when they went to the inn. And having 8 people to restrain you, like, and when you finally say, I'm guilty. But the weird thing to me is them saying that he was like, I'm guilty, yeah, I'm totally guilty. And they still torture him anyway. It's like they want him to admit to more than what he has done, actually. And they never really get what they want out of him. They get 544 people and 24 pregnant women out of him before they finally decide to go ahead and off this man. So anyway, that is the story of the black magic magician gang leader cannibal, basically, named Peter Niers. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one today. I enjoyed researching it. I really hope you choose to subscribe. That would really help me a lot. I am trying to get to 500. I hope you guys enjoyed this, like I say, and I will be back on Sunday with another video. So if nobody's told you guys today, I love you and have a wonderful day.